The year 2025 became a year of unprecedented strikes by the defense forces against the enemy's strategic targets, both in scale and geography. From the Baltic Sea to the Caspian, from strategic aviation airfields deep in the rear to the shadow fleet in the Mediterranean, Ukraine has proven that it can reach the aggressor anywhere. Fires at oil refineries, the destruction of bombers, and strikes on submarines. A new reality for the Russian war machine. Sofia Zelinska will tell you about the year's most high-profile operations.
The most stunning event of the year was the special operation by the security service of Ukraine called WEB. On June 1st, Ukrainian drones simultaneously attacked 4 key air bases deep in the rear of Russia: Bila, Olenya, Diaghilevo, and Ivanovo.
A total of 41 aircraft were hit, including strategic bombers Tu-95 and Tu-160. Estimated damages exceed $7 billion.
This operation was prepared for more than a year and a half. According to sources, FPV drones and mobile launchers disguised as wooden houses were secretly transported into Russian territory, from where the strike was carried out. The logistical complexity and audacity of the operation placed this operation on par with the most renowned actions of the world's intelligence agencies.
The preparation of the drones and the houses took place just a few kilometers from the FSB office in one of the Russian regions. These houses were loaded onto trucks and sent to airfields where strategic bombers were stationed.
The enemy suffered equally painful blows at sea, where the geography of Ukrainian operations extended far beyond the boundaries of the Black Sea Basin. Back on January 4th, drones, having covered 900 kilometers, paralyzed the operation of the oil terminal in the port of Ust-Luga on the Baltic Sea.
That's just a mattress. It's moving. And
It turns out it was a drone that flew in.
Also this year, for the first time in history, the underwater drone Sapsi Baby struck a Russian submarine of the Varshavyanka class, a carrier of Kaliber missiles.
As a result of the explosion, the submarine suffered critical damage and was effectively put out of commission. There were 4 cruise missile launchers on board the submarine, Kaliber missiles which the enemy uses to strike Ukrainian territory.
The cost of such a submarine reaches $400 million. This attack forced the command of the Russian fleet to look for even more remote and, as they believed, safer harbors for the remnants of their ships.
Let us recall the damaged submarine was forced to stay in the port of Novorossiysk due to successful special operations. Surface marine drones Sea Baby, which drove Russian ships and submarines out of Sevastopol Bay in temporarily occupied Crimea.
But there are no safe places left for the enemy anymore. On December 19th, SBU operators struck the tanker Kandil, which was part of Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet. And they did it in the neutral waters of the Mediterranean Sea, 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine. The vessel which Russia used to circumvent sanctions and finance the war suffered critical damage.
Russia used this tanker to bypass sanctions and earn money that was then spent on the war against Ukraine. Therefore, from the perspective of international law and the laws and customs of war, this is an absolutely legitimate target for the security service of Ukraine. The enemy must understand that Ukraine will not stop and will strike them anywhere in the world, wherever they may be.
However, this is not the only strike against the Russian fleet. This year, the sea has often been a hotspot.
December 15th, the Varshavyanka submarine was hit in Novorossiysk. June 3rd, the 3rd strike on the Crimean Bridge. The structure is in an emergency condition. December 19th. A tanker from Russia's Shadow Fleet was destroyed in the Mediterranean Sea.
At the same time, the defense forces continue to systematically destroy the economic foundation of Russian aggression, its oil refining industry. Over the course of the year, more than 140 attacks were carried out on oil refineries and depots. And the strikes kept reaching deeper and deeper. Drones reached as far as Bashkortostan, Komi, and even Tyumen, which is 2,000 kilometers from the border. The result was the largest fuel crisis in modern Russian history. By autumn, nearly 40% of oil refining capacity had been put out of commission. More than 50 Russian regions felt the gasoline shortage. Gas stations saw kilometer-long lines, and in occupied Crimea and the Far East, fuel sales limits were imposed. Additionally, on the night of December 28th, the Syzran oil refinery in the Samara region was hit. In September alone, drone attacks halted the operations of 4 more major Russian plants. The Kinev plant in the Kaliningrad region, the second largest in Russia, was shut down on September 14th. The Ryazan oil refinery, owned by Rosneft and among the top 5 in Russia, was shut down on September 5th. The Novokuybishevsk oil refinery shut down on September 20th. And the Astrakhan gas processing plant of Gazprom shut down on September 22nd. The past year has once again proven that Ukrainian defense forces are capable of carrying out complex, multi-stage operations at any distance. Russian strategic bombers, submarines, oil terminals, and plants that finance the occupiers' army are no longer safe. Ukraine continues to systematically destroy the enemy's military and economic potential. Of the enemy, Sofia Zelinska, Podrobnosti, Inter TV channel, United News.